Hello everyone, welcome again to the Indian Polity lecture series for Civil Services Examination. My name is Shankar Ray. Today is the lecture number 7. I would encourage each of you who have not seen my previous 6 lectures, kindly go through the videos so that you have a better understanding to pursue the further classes. Now let us get back to the work immediately. Today we are going to discuss on this video number 7 the developments of powers finance up to local levels. So that will be our topic of discussion, where we are going to discuss what are the developments of powers as well as what are the financial procedures up to the local levels. Now when we say about the local levels, technically there are two systems that comes in our mind. Number one is the gram panchayat and number two is the municipalities. Now to have a better understanding, we always say that we are having a two-tier government, that is a union government as well as state government. But also we have to understand that technically we are having a three-tier government, that is union government, state government and the local self-government. That exactly local self-government is as a whole sum called as panchayati raj institutions. That panchayati raj institutions comprises of the panchayat as well as the municipalities. Now let us understand in more details further. Now here the 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Acts were passed by the Parliament in 1992. 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Acts passed in 1992. These amendments, called local self-government, was introduced in the rural area and the urban area. Now try to understand. Now this 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act is related to rural India, and this 74th Constitutional Amendment Act is related to urban area. The act came into force constitutionally on the 1993, that is 1992-74th on the 1st 1993. So those dates are not very important, just try to remember that 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Acts. Formally it is passed in the Parliament in 1992 and came in effect as a rule of government or the rule of law from 1993. So it was during the Prime Minister P.V. Narasimha Rao that comprehensive amendment was introduced in the form of Constitution 72nd Amendment Bill in September 1991. So the journey of the Panchayat Raj institutions is very long. Because of the lack of the time, I am not going to discuss in detail about what are the committee recommendations, which committee has given what recommendations, the futuristic aspects. So that probably we can have a separate discussion in our doubt clearing classes in a separate session. Also, to make you understand, the idea of the local self-government or the village level was actually the idea came from the Mahatma Gandhi's philosophy also. So Mahatma Gandhi always believed in the self-sufficient village system. So finally we came into the local self-government, both at the village level as well as the urban level and rural level. Rural level is called as panchayat and the urban level is called as municipalities. Now understand, Article 40 of our constitution says responsibility upon the state to take steps to organize village panchayats, okay, and endue them with such powers and authorities as may be necessary to enable them to function as units of the self-government. Try to understand. Remember in the previous lectures I have discussed with you people regarding the powers of the union as well as the state, and I have also told you that in the state we are having a state list and where the state legislature is having an exclusive power to legislate upon those matters. So what exactly Article 40 says? So from the state list, it is the responsibility of the state to delegate some power to further decentralization way, that is a local self-government. That is under the Article 40, our constitution mentions that. So for that, with that particular 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act, now as this is a constitutional amendment act, so certain changes or the amendments are made into constitution. जैसे कि for example the part 9 Roman letter IX, it is introduced as the panchayats, and part 9A, that is Roman letter IXA, that is introduced as the municipalities. Now at the same time, the basic units of the democracy system, that is a gram sabha, villages, and at the urban level, that is ward committee or the municipalities, comprising all the adult members registered as a voter. So that's a very basic feature regarding the both the panchayat raj institutions. So what are the points you need to remember? Just remember that what is article 40, and what are the changes. Brief changes are made by the amendment of 73rd as well as the 74th to the constitution, and what are the minimum democratic level, that is a gram panchayat as well as the ward committee. Going next with that, now the constitution prescribes is that we are having 3 lists, but interestingly the local self-government, they do not have their own exclusive list. So it was the duty of the state according to article 40 that they have to devolve some power. That means they have to give away certain responsibility from their state list to this local self-government. Now that concept is called as devolution of functions, funds and functionaries. In short, we call it as a 3FS. Now try to understand article 243G and 243W. Just remember one thing, that you no need to remember each and every article. Here is the difference is the G, and here is the only difference is W. So that this is how a bit of small tricks to understand and remember the articles also. So this is related to the rural area, and this is related to part 9A is related to the urban area of the constitution. State legislatures are to endow respectively to the panchayats and the municipalities with powers, authorities to enable them to function as institutes of the self-government. So by constitution it has been mentioned the state legislature has to give and delegate the responsibility to the panchayats as well as the municipalities. Now articles 243G and 243W allow discretion to the states. That means, so the union cannot enforce and cannot direct to the states that which state and what type of responsibility they have to delegate. So it depends purely on the state on the matters of the devolution, whether they want to devolve some power or whether and how much power they want to they want to discrete to the states. So that purely depends on the particular state. So state vary in extent to which they have devolved power to the panchayats and municipalities to the plan, implement, monitor schemes for economical, developmental and social justice framework. Now one thing you must understand, that why this local self-government concept that came up. Please try to understand. So we are a very diverse country, where from north to south as well as from east to west, people are different, culture is different, cuisines are different, belief system is different. So it is very unlike when a central law is passed and imposed on each and every one. For example, I'll just give you a very brief example to understand this particular concept. For example, there are, let's say, 10 number of districts in one particular state. Okay, so probably one district might be requiring fund priority basis on the medical ground. Second district, the requirement is different, probably they need fund primarily on the education. So similarly, when we talk about the village level, the central policies are imposed from the center, that is a top to bottom approach, but one village requirement may not be same as the other villages requirement. So it is always better that you give them the money and the power and the authority, so that the village persons and the committee or the system, they can decide by themselves what is best and what is not. So that is a basic and brief concept for the requirement of this local self-government. At the same time, within the constitutional framework, local government is a state subject. I have already referred to many times, up to the states to pass the legislation. So Ministry of Panchayat, now there are two ministries which are evolved. One is Ministry of Panchayat Raj, looking after the rural area, and the Ministry of Urban Development, looking after the urban areas. Next, let us understand in the topic itself. If you see, it is a powers and the finance. So I'm going to limit myself, though there are so many aspects regarding the election and other things, so I'm not going to discuss in detail about it. So I'll be restricting myself only to discuss on the powers and the finances. Now let us try to understand decentralization of the power to panchayat. Now 73rd amendment to the constitution, that is part 9 of the constitution, mandates. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to discuss the power decentralization for both the panchayat as well as municipality. So is the case where I'm going to discuss the financial decentralization for both the panchayat as well as the municipalities. Now, constitution of the panchayat, village, intermediate and the district level, except for the states having a population of less than 20 lakhs, which may not constitute a panchayat at the intermediate level. So this is the minimum requirement what it has been set. I'll also encourage you people to note down those things. These are very important. Regular elections to the panchayat in every 5 years. All of us, we know that our general election as well as state election, that happens in every 5 years. So is the case for the at the local level also. Reservation of the seats and the offices of chairpersons for the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe as well as women at each level of the panchayats. So this is a very unique opportunity, and this Panchayat Raj also gives an equal opportunity to the marginalized section of our society, so that they also get a seat and in the decision making power. Now constitution of the State Finance Commission as well as the State Election Commission. So they will be prescribedly looking into the matters related to the election of the panchayat as well as the finances of the panchayat. Now going next, so finances to the panchayat further. These are the couple of articles like article 243C, 243D, E, G and 243K. Now let us try to understand that, for example, for union as well as the state, there is a source of revenue. For example, the tax. So the tax which we pay as an individual or maybe as a company, whatever tax we are paying, that is one of the source of the revenue to the government. So similarly, what are the sorts of revenue sources for the local government, especially for the panchayats? Now grants, what are the grants? Grants are typically when it is being provided for any kind of schemes or kind of development sectors or for any kind of new initiatives. Some often it has been observed the union government or the state government also transfer some money to the panchayat. So that is also one of the revenue source. Devolution from the state government based on the recommendation of the State Finance Commission. So based on the recommendation, the particular finances can be also transferred. Loans or the grants from the state governments. Program specific allocation under central sponsor scheme, I have just mentioned you people. Internal sources generation, tax or non-tax. I'm going to discuss couple of what are the different types of tax and non-taxes. And of course the State Finance Commission as well as the State Election Commission are also interested and are also looking into the matters regarding the finances and the sources. Now further understanding here, when we try to say the panchayat has a 3 level. Now gram panchayat, panchayat samiti and jila parishad. Now you must understand one point, that it is not necessary that every panchayat must have the 3 levels. Some of the state they have a 3 level of panchayat, some of the state they do not have a 3 level of panchayats, they have only 2 levels of panchayat. So it varies from state to state. So in the case for what are the different types of taxes? Now house tax, tax on the cattle, immovable property, commercial crops, drainage tax, sanitation fee. Sometimes in the prelims examination objective MCQ types, they can ask you that consider the following statements regarding the, suppose for example, house tax. It is imposed by whom? Is it imposed by the union government, state government or the panchayat? So the correct answer will be the panchayat. So you need to understand the couple of and very few the nitty-gritty, so that in your examination things are much more smoother. And so is the case like, for example, supply of water to households, lighting taxes. Some of the taxes are fees levied by the panchayat. Panchayat can also levy entertainment tax on temporary stations, theatres. Taxes on animals, non-mechanically propelled vehicles. So Gram Panchayat also receive funds as income from property owned by them as common grounds. Okay, like jungles and cattle ground, etc. They can also get a nominal fee. It's like a parking lot and getting a fee. So the sales proceeds during the refuse and circuses dead bodies of animals are also retained by the Gram Panchayat. They also receive their share in the land revenue from the state. So these are the various sorts of revenue at the level of Gram Panchayat. Now let us understand at the level of Panchayat Samiti. Panchayat Samiti, similarly, we have to understand, like for example, water, irrigation purposes, lighting arrangements, tolls, bridges maintained by them. Those are also taxes imposed by the Panchayat Samiti. Now, the property of the Panchayat Samiti includes the public buildings, public roads constructed and maintained out of their funds. All land, other property transferred to them, the Panchayat receive income from the property vested in them. So that's basically a kind of a rental agreement. So where they also receive certain types of fund in a subscription basis. So they also receive grants from the state, the similar like the other Gram Panchayat, and funds are transferred by the Jilla Panchayat or Jilla Parishad of the state governments along with the schemes to be implemented by the intermediate institution of the Panchayat Raj. So often many times implementation of the schemes are also coming to picture by giving them the grants. Now this is a part of the Panchayat Samiti. Now let us understand the Jilla Parishad. How the Jilla Parishad and what are the different types of sources of the revenue. So this is now the Jilla Parishad. So they also impose taxes, like for example rural areas for 6 months, taxes on the brokers, commission agents in the market established by them, also the tax on the sale of the goods in these markets, tax on the land revenue can also be imposed by the Jilla Parishad when development scheme are entrusted to them. So they also receive grants from the states, certain types of donations from the charitable institutions, and may also raise loans. So those are the sources of revenue for the Jilla Parishad. So if you try to understand all the three, Gram Panchayat, Panchayati Samiti and Jilla Parishad, moreover all are same. For example, grants from the state and taxation on the kind of for example any property what they are owning. So there are very few and marginal differences among the three of the sources income. Now let us go next. With that we have understood the panchayat system. Now let us try to focus on the power of the municipalities. The previous what we have understood, the gram panchayat level, that means the panchayat level, that is a rural level, and now the municipalities coming into the urban level. 74th amendment to the constitution of municipalities, ward committees, regular election to the municipalities, reservation of seats, office of chairperson for the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe and women. Already the same kind of provision we have seen in the panchayats also. Now so is the case for constitution of district planning committee at the district level to consolidate the plans prepared by the panchayats and municipalities in district and to prepare the draft development plan for the district as a whole. So moreover the system is same, but this is municipalities is for the urban area and as well as the panchayats are for the rural areas. So this is the only difference between the two part of the stories regarding the decentralization of the power. Now understanding what are the finances for the municipalities, very simple. Taxes, they also impose certain types of taxes the way the rural areas, the panchayat, gram panchayat and jilla parishad they impose. Similarly the municipalities also impose the taxes, certain fees and fines, like for example parking fee and violation fines earning from the municipality enterprises like land, tanks, market shops and etc. Besides these bodies, they also receive grants from the state. Property tax on the land and building is the most important source of income for the urban local bodies. Other taxes levied by the, like for example advertisement tax, professional tax, yeah, there was a question in the UPSC that professional tax was imposed by whom. Was it by is it by the union government or the state government or the municipality? So it is the correct answer will be the municipalities. There are also certain taxes like octroi still remains an important source of income in the municipality in the Western India. So the taxes vary from the state to state as the state subject which state wants to devolve and decentralize what sort of and what and how much power to the local level, that purely depends on the state per se. Now with that we have tried to understand what kind of devolution of the powers and the financial up to the local levels we have understood at the panchayat level as well as the municipality levels. So the I have given you very bare minimum and important informations to you people to remember. So and I hope that you have really gone through the entire details, and feel free to ask any kind of question if you have. I'll be happy to address all of your queries, and I'm looking forward to see you again. Thank you so much.